Well, to my knowledge, no company has ever displayed a showroom-ready motorcycle at the EICMA show without actually releasing it. Not a concept bike, a production-ready motorcycle sitting there for the public to see without a spec sheet or any official details. But that's exactly what KTM just did with the new 390 Enduro, Supermoto, and, most importantly, adventure bike. Yes, the 390 Adventure R is the bike KTM should have released back in 2020 when the 390 Adventure first came out. But instead, what we got was a half-hearted attempt at pleasing everyone. A good bike, no doubt, but not something that lived up to KTM's reputation of putting out off-road wonder machines for the serious gnarl. But it seems that here, 5 years later, KTM has finally gotten it right with the second generation 390 Adventure by introducing an off-road specific one that will probably carry the R moniker. And while KTM has not officially released the details, between seeing the bike and the leaks which have come out about it, we can glean a lot of useful information. Enough to see that this may very well be the unicorn that off-road oriented adventure riders are looking for. So stay tuned for the details, and if you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing, liking the video, and sharing it with friends. So, the last couple of years, the trend in adventure motorcycles has turned away from building ever larger fortresses on wheels and gone toward lighter and more off-road capable machines in the 4 to 450cc range. The Cove Rally 450, Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, and the CF Moto MT 450, also known as the Ibex, have changed the game. And it is in this landscape that the new 390 Adventure R is coming to compete. As I said earlier, the official details are not out, but we can see the bike and there are some leaks from India that reveal some of the unknowns. So let's get into the details because this is pretty much the unicorn. First, there will be a regular version with 19 and 17-inch wheels and down-spec suspension, which won't be much different from last year's model. But while that will have the updated engine and fairing, that's not the bike that's getting all the attention. It's the R version with the 21 and 18-inch wire-spoked wheels and properly chunky tires that's getting the press, and I have to say, this is the best-looking adventure bike KTM has ever made. The new stacked headlight is definitely better than the insectoid look of the outgoing model, and the bigger wheels, longer suspension, high front fender, and display tower look properly rally ready. This is what the off-road adventure riders have been waiting for. The engine will be the 399cc unit from the 2024 390 Duke, which has been punched out from 373cc by lengthening the stroke. In the Duke, this engine kicks out 44 to 45 horsepower at 8,500 RPM and around 28 pound-feet of torque at around 6,500 RPM. This instantly makes the 390 Adventure the most powerful bike in the 450 class, as the Himalayan and Ibex are both hovering around 40. The Cove 450 Rally is hard to nail down for power, but most riders say that it feels like a 350. Weight-wise, the Cove is light at around 350 to 360 pounds wet with a big fuel tank, but one of the knocks on the Himalayan 450 and CF Moto Ibex 450 is that they weigh around 420 to 430 pounds wet, which is on the heavy side for serious off-roading. While we don't have the official weight figures for the new 390 Adventure yet, the leaks coming out of India claim that the base model with the 19 and 17-inch wheels will weigh the same as the current bike, which tips the scales at 177 to 180 kilograms or 390 to 398 pounds. The R model is supposed to be a little heavier, maybe around 183 to 4 kilograms or 404 to 406 pounds. That's considerably lighter than all such bikes except for the Cove, though the new KTM bike does not appear to have the side-mounted gasoline tanks that lower the center of gravity as on the 890 Adventure models. As for fuel capacity, engineers say that it will be greater than the 390 Dukes, which has a 15-liter tank, so perhaps 16 or 17 liters, which is pretty decent for a small displacement ADV bike. In the suspension department, the base model will run similar WP suspension to the current 390 Adventure, while the R model will have KTM's high-end Explore suspension, which will be fully adjustable at both ends. Suspension travel on the R is longer than the current model's 6.7 and 7-inch travel front and back respectively, and leaked information indicates about 220 millimeters or 8.7 inches of travel front and back, with about the same amount of ground clearance, which isn't dual sport level but is as good or better than all the 450cc competition except again for the Kove. Obviously, bigger wheels and longer suspension travel does not make for a low seat height, but the subframe on the new models is positioned lower. This will result in the R model seat height staying at around 855mm or 33.6 inches, same as the outgoing model, while the base model seat will be lower thanks to its shorter suspension and smaller wheels. Hopefully, the seat and subframe will be narrower than the previous model, as that seat was on the wide side, which resulted in it feeling higher than its actual 33.6 inches. There are a few other details that can be gleaned from the bike. The front brakes are bi-bray axial-mounted 2-piston calipers, perfectly adequate for a lighter bike like this. The Adventure model has a larger TFT color display, while the Enduro and Super model have a smaller basic dual sport dash. The Adventure R has a USB plug, which is a necessity in my opinion. It also has a long swing arm for stability and will probably have similar rider and traction control modes to the current model, with the R having perhaps some additional off-road software, maybe a rally mode. KTM's electronics will undoubtedly be the most advanced in the class, though at these power levels it is questionable how much they are needed. One feature that the Adventure will have that the competition lacks is cruise control. This is a new feature in this class and will be prized by touring riders who want to save their right wrists over the long haul. Finally, the windshield on the display bike looks very promising, being much taller and more protective than the current stubby one. By the way, the display model has some accessories on it, including that big protective bash plate, which is not stock according to the KTM reps. Neither is the Akrapovic exhaust, which sits way too low for water crossings to my eye. I like to ford deep water and would definitely worry about that exhaust. So what to make of all of this? Let's go in order. The standard 19 and 17 inch wheel version will be a bit more powerful and have a slightly lower seat than the current bike, but will otherwise be similar to it. The lower seat will be more accessible to smaller folks, and this will be a good option for the majority of ADV riders who don't intend on doing serious off-roading. The R model is there for the more serious dirt crowd. It won't be a dual sport, but will be closer to it than the Himalayan and Ibex. The model will be the best combination of on and off-road performance in its class, though we must remember that the new Kawasaki 451cc twin bike teased at EICMA and soon to be released may give it some serious competition. As for the Enduro and Supermoto, my feelings are mixed. The Enduro looks good, but now that the Suzuki DRZ4S is out, check out my video on that bike in the top right corner. The new KTM 390 Enduro may be outmatched in the suspension department. If, like the Adventure R, it has significantly less than 10 inches of travel, the new DRZ with its KYB suspension, 11 to 12 inches of travel and ground clearance, and 36.2 inch seat height will eat it alive on the trails. The fact that these two bikes are likely to be in the same price range may cause most dual sport riders, except for those looking for a lower seat, to choose the Suzuki. With its extra power, shorter suspension, and lower center of gravity, the KTM should be the superior pavement bike, which is where the Supermoto will have an advantage over the DRZ Supermoto. On pavement, this thing should make a great hooligan bike. I'm not a Supermoto guy, but this machine will be the best in class, beating the DRZ 4SM and KLX 300 SM in the power and handling department. The only better Supermoto out there will be KTM's own 690 SM, but that's a big step up in power and price. So, did KTM create the unicorn with the 390 Adventure R? I dare say that it is close. Out of all the off-road focused adventure bikes that have been recently released, this will definitely be the fastest on the road and second most capable in the dirt, with only the Kove 450 Rally beating it there. But Kove has a sparse dealer network, and many ADV riders are hesitant to plunk down $9K US on an unknown quantity. Which brings us to price. Hopefully the base model Adventure stays close to the current model's rather reasonable $7,600 US price tag. The R model with its upgraded suspension and bigger wire-spoked wheels should be pricier, but hopefully not too much. The Enduro and Supermoto need to be close to that range as well in order to be attractive to potential customers. It's exciting times if you're an off-road oriented adventure rider, and I am. It seems the manufacturers are finally giving us what we've been asking for, and we are spoiled for choice. And there's more to come with the new Kawasaki, no doubt soon to be introduced as well. Till then, the 390 Adventure R may be the best of the lot, but I want to hear from you. Which of these bikes best meets your needs? Personally, I'd love to see a DRZ4 Rally model with a bigger tank and fairing. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Check out these other videos you may find interesting. Ride safe, and may the spokes be with you.